So from a very, very young age, I was obsessed with cats. And this was before the internet. So my mom had never really grown up with pets, so she didn't really know what the deal was, but her daughter really wanted a cat. So we got cats, and we had several of them, and one of them got pregnant, and my mom was terrified that the cat was going to give birth in the living room at my birthday party. Fortunately, that did not happen, so that is not the story I'm telling. But we did keep 2 of the kittens from that litter. One of them he was the runt of the litter. He was this tiny little black fluff ball with a heart murmur, and he had pneumonia as a kitten, so he always kind of wheezed. But as it happened, he grew up to be a pretty strapping young male cat, all limbs and all sleek black. And I have to say, an amazingly, impressively large, fuzzy, black set of balls. And we named him Zalik. Why we named the cat after an old Yiddish man, I'm not sure. But we called him Zay, and Zay liked to spend his time curled around the bird cage waiting for the budgie to come out. Never happened. Chasing squirrels out in the back, and I assume making time with stray ladies. And one day, well, over quite a few days, we came home and we found an ashtray full of cat pee and a tissue box full of cat pee. We were getting worried that he was going to go for one of the electrical outlets next. So my mom goes to the vet and was like, "Oh my God, why is the cat peeing all over the house?" And the vet said, "He's marking his territory. The only thing you can do is have him fixed." So my mom says, "Okay, well, we can't have him peeing around the house." So we have the cat fixed. And I'm like, I don't know, 8. So I don't really have any idea of what this entails. And my mom, wonderful, beautiful, naive woman that she was, thought this involved some sort of kitty vasectomy. So when Zay came home from the vet, minus the big black fuzzy balls, my mom was appalled and horrified, and she apologized to the cat for days. She felt so bad. And Zay, for his part, I guess having decided that his kitty nookie days were over, he turned to food. And he ate obsessively. And my mom, in her guilt, let him eat whatever he wanted because it was what he got left. Eventually, this cat was 40 pounds. A 28-inch waistline. He would sit on my chest and would stop breathing. And he would come in if he'd been outdoors. If he was wet, if it had been raining, he wanted you to towel him down. And if you toweled him down not enough, he would growl. And if you toweled him down too much, he would growl. And if you insisted on toweling him down after he growled at you, now he never took out his claws at us. Instead of coming at you this way, he'd come at you this way. And let me tell you, when you've been whopped upside the head by a 40-pound cat, you know it. So, one of the things about being 40 pounds when you're a cat is you're perhaps not as nimble as you used to be. And he chased some squirrels in the back of the house, and we lived in this little bungalow that had a flat little roof. And it had a big utility pole near the house, and there was a fence with a little ledge. And so he would apparently chase the squirrels up the fence, across the house, over to the utility pole, and beyond. Yeah, okay. So one day he went out and he didn't come back. And he was, whatever else, he was very much a homebody kind of cat. So we got really freaked out that he didn't come back. And there's me and my mom and my brother. And I'm about 10 years old. My brother's about 17. And we're like scouring the neighborhood. And finally, we start hearing this noise. Well, we know he's around that area of the house. I'm standing on the stoop. I don't know, I looked up. And looking back down at me from the top of the house was this big black head with these doleful yellow eyes. And we realized he'd gotten himself marooned on the roof of the house. So when we're standing around trying to figure out what to do, a utility worker shows up. How serendipitous is that, right? So he's unpacking his stuff and my mom says, "Sir, I hate to bother you, but our cat's on the roof and he's stuck. Do you think you could get him down?" Guy surveying the situation, seeing the single mom with the two kids, go, "Oh, sure, I can get your cat for you, lady." And he climbs up the utility pole. He looks over at Zay. And he looks down at us. And he looks over at Zay. And he looks down at us. And he says, "I don't know what that is, but I ain't a cat and I'm not touching it." My mom says, "No, really, just a fat cat. He's the family pet, he's harmless." "I don't know what that is, but I ain't a cat and I'm not touching it." He does his work on the pole and leaves. Refused to get the cat down. So, my brother, like I said, he was like 17. He starts to climb the pole, gets about halfway up, and is paralyzed with a fear of heights that was hitherto unknown. And so my mom finally says, no, come down. So he climbs down. I'm like, "I'll go." My mother looks at me, she's like, "No. You're not climbing up that pole." So you gotta picture, my mom is all of 5'2", so just a tiny bit taller than me. Skinnier, maybe 120 pounds. And she's also very arthritic. She would end up having to quit work permanently just a few years later. She had osteorheumatoid arthritis, fused discs in her back, and she was kind of a mess. But there's a cat on the roof still going, "Meow." And there's her 10-year-old daughter who's like, "Mom, you gotta get the cat." So, picture if you will, my mom mounts the pole and she's climbing this pole, and she's not really crazy about heights either, but your mom, you do these things. And she climbs up to the top of the pole. So now she's at the top of the pole, and there's still like a foot between the pole and the edge of the roof. And she convinces Zay to come over to the edge of the roof, and he does so. And he's looking at her, and she's looking at him, and so there's this gap. So she has to hold on to the pole with one arm, lean over, and scoop the cat with the other arm. My mom was an atheist, but I'm pretty sure there was some prayer she said while she was up there. Terrified of dropping the cat, traumatizing her daughter, and hurting herself. So she leans all the way over and in one fell swoop goes, vroom, and a third of her body weight has been scooped up onto her. Now, she reported later that once she got him up here, she wasn't worried about him falling down because he dug his claws into her. So she got down, she takes it, we go in, and I'm pretty sure what went through her mind was, Cat, now we're even. Thank you.